Welcome back to Finger Lakes today. We have a live guest in our studio. This is Jeremy Jimenez. He's the co-founder of a local company called Honest Farm. Jeremy, how are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
And so first things first, for people who may not know about your company, what is it?
We were one of the first 52 cultivators to get our cultivating license here in New York State. We grow THC now. Some of it's going to go to processing. Some will go to the shelf for smokable flower. And that's basically the gist of it. We have an 8,000 square foot hydroponic store. It's kind of geared towards the cannabis industry a little bit. But obviously you can grow tomatoes, onions, peppers, whatever you decide to grow.
And how did it come to be that you co-founded this business? Like, what made you want to get into it? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your history.
Well, I was originally from Newark, where our facility is. I went to school there, graduated from there, left about 17 years ago, went to Florida, opened up a construction company, did very well, met my business partner, John Callahan, which he wasn't able to make it today, but he's working at the facility. Met him, went out to Colorado. I was interested in the industry, always wanted to get into it, was looking for something different to do, because I was getting burnt out from construction, and got into the cannabis industry. And then we found my stepmother worked in that facility for almost 20 years.
Wow.
So I found it online by accident.
What was it originally?
It was world famous for its roses.
Oh, Rose City, New York.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and then Newark Flores bought it. They went out of business in 2012. There was a couple small businesses in there in between, and then we purchased the building about 4 years ago.
So when did you graduate from Newark High?
I graduated in 1997.
97, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the glory days of the Reds. I graduated in 90 from Minders, so.
Yeah.
So you went to Florida, then Colorado, where you probably were exposed to some of the industry in Colorado.
Yeah, so John was in the industry in Colorado. We talked about breeding genetics. That's what we were mainly was a genetics company providing feminized hemp seed to farmers. We helped 25 farmers get licensed here locally, from Amish to local farms and just business owners that wanted to get into the industry, get their feet wet. So we assisted with them getting licensed.
So feminized seeds, meaning if you get male and female seeds mixed, the product's not going to be as good, right?
Right, the THC, or back then, the CBD content would be lower, because if you get a male plant and that pollen flies throughout your grow, it seeds out the whole grow.
Birds and bees, nature.
Right, exactly. So we were talking yesterday about kind of what's happening at your plant right now, and you were able to send me some videos. I know I sent them along to our producers. I don't know if they're able to pull up some of those videos while we're chatting, but can you kind of talk about those videos that you did send me and those pictures, and tell me what's going on?
Yeah, so from that picture that you see there, local law enforcement, Jonathan Taylor, the mayor of Newark, all been very supportive of us being in the community, so that's been great. We're amping up production. So security is an issue. We're staying on top of that as best as we can, because we are growing THC now. So you got some people that might be interested in getting into the facility. So we take security at a high priority.
And there was something you were telling me about. It's a new device or a piece of equipment.
Yeah, so we just bought the Rolls Royces of trimmers, and that trim room is actually going to be done hopefully Monday. And we got it dialed in. We've been playing around with it with some product that we don't really care about. Mm-hmm. So now that we got it dialed in, that trimmer is going to go into its own trim lab, where guys are going to wear lab coats, booties, face masks, and make sure that we have quality control over our product when it hits the marijuana dispensaries.
I think essentially the product that we saw growing has to be processed, and so that trim room is how you would process it, so then you can pass it on to either the distributors or your customers from that point.
That's correct.
Now, the last time I saw you, it was at a marijuana job fair. So have you made any hires from that?
Actually, we did. We did
Wow.
make a couple good hires. They worked out really well. As we amp up production, we will be filling in those spots and added more to the facility.
Wonderful. Now, moving along to some kind of recent news that we just learned about yesterday, a federal judge, it looks like, temporarily blocked New York State cannabis regulators from issuing retail licenses because of some kind of a lawsuit. We're just learning about this as the news comes in. Are you able to kind of explain what's happening there?
Yeah, so that's not looking good for us or other farmers that, are looking to move product, and we're, thinking that the dispensaries were going to be opened up in January. So that could move the timeline 6 months to a year. So what are we to do with the product that we just grew?
Right.
This could be a fast process, which we all hope, but we don't know. It depends on the federal judge and how he decides to handle the lawsuit.
So what do you do with the product if you have no one to sell it to?
We vacuum seal it, package it, and hopefully, if it doesn't go bad by the time the dispensaries open up, we'll have to send it off for processing, which is much lower value.
Will that situation, or this situation with the federal judge just yesterday blocking the retail licenses, does that put the business end, the financial end of your business in a little jeopardy, or is this, what's that going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely puts us in a financial burden, and along with other farms that are involved with this and was hoping to, looking forward to move their product. Now we're thinking, okay, now we got to change gears because we don't know how long this is going to take. Is New York going to help us out in some way of, hey, can you move some product before, maybe doing a small dispensary or able, I don't know what that looks like. I don't think New York State knows what it looks like right now.
Sure.
So they're trying to figure it out on their own, and we're just kind of, it's a moving target, and we're just trying to keep up with it.
But there's probably, I'm assuming here, that legally you're unable to maybe transport that out of New York State to some other states with licenses. Is that something you can do?
No, that's not an option.
Yeah.
So anything grown in New York State has to stay in New York State.
And
I
that would
don't
be
know what
true
that will
in-
look like federally when it goes federal. I still would assume that each state will have their own set of rules on quality control, how it's growing, testing, stuff like that.
But until there's some sort of federal law passed legalizing cannabis, you can't move that across state lines at all.
No, we're stuck in New York State.
Well, I mean, that's a bit of a downer, but I guess switching gears to a more positive, hopefully, question. Why do you love what you do, and why did you decide to get into this industry?
What a lot of people don't know, it's not all about getting high. There's a lot of medical benefits to it, and I've helped a lot of people, behind the scenes, which I don't talk about often, is people with cancer, epilepsy, seizures. We've helped so many people with this, depression even.
Yeah.
This has a lot of medical benefits. It's had a bad stigma behind it, but it's starting to come to light. Like, okay, there's more than prescription drugs out there. This is something that can help people and have a little fun too, if that's what you choose to do.
Well, if you look at growing up in the age of Miller Lite commercials, where alcohol is treated, at least in the general culture, is something fun and good, but all that time, marijuana has been, like you and I grew up in a world where marijuana was just treated the same as cocaine.
Right.
It's just a hard drug. And I think that everybody knows that's not necessarily the case. And so when you especially contrast that against like the way the alcohol is treated in media and our society, and even by the government, there's just a lot of inconsistencies there that are finally, I think, starting to shake out in our society. Slowly, as you can tell by this latest federal judge blocking the retail licenses.
That's correct.
Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you coming in. And we are actually going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be talking a little bit more about some local news. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you
Jeremy.
for
Good
having
luck.
me.